Plaintiff's attorney is Mr. Prukop.
I am the witness.
I'm the court.
Defense attorney, Mr. Patterson.
For the record, Your Honor, I am holding what appears to be a California driver's license. May this be marked Exhibit 1.
It may. Just hand it right up here. You know our procedure. All exhibits will be handed to the court over the witness stand.
Yes, Your Honor.
Thank you. One for identification.
Would you look at this exhibit that now has been marked People's 1 and tell me if you recognize that?
Yes, it is my driver's license.
And where was that driver's license the last time it was in your possession?
In my wallet.
So that was part of the contents that was taken.
That's correct.
And you referred to the cut that was on your chin. What medical treatment did you receive, if any, for that particular cut?
No medical treatment.
Did your wife look at it?
Yes, she did.
Is she a nurse?
Yes, she is.
And you told us that you gave these items of personal property to the defendants. What was the reason you gave these items of personal property to the defendants?
Your Honor, I object to that as leading and suggestive, and it assumes facts not in evidence.
Overruled.
Furthermore, I think it has been asked and answered.
Overruled.
Would you repeat the question again?
Yes. Why did you give these items of personal property to the defendants?
Because I felt my safety was endangered.
You were in fear for your life?
That's correct.
This is based on what happened as you described it to the jury, is that right?
That's correct.
Now, do you recognize these two persons that robbed you in court today?
Yes, I do.
Would you identify them, please? Point them out for us.
The two gentlemen that are sitting at the table, the fellow in the yellow shirt and the fellow in the blue shirt.
And which one was it that had the switchblade knife?
The one in the yellow shirt.
And that is the defendant that I am standing behind now?
That's correct.
May the record show that is Cal, Your Honor.
That will be the record.
And the one that had this pointed knife that cut you in the chin, do you see him here in court?
Yes, I do.
And you mentioned the fellow with the yellow shirt, the one I am standing behind now?
That's correct.
May the record show that the defendant Olson?
Just to clear up the matter, the district attorney said yellow shirt, and Mr. Cal is wearing a yellow shirt and Mr. Olson is wearing a blue shirt.
I thought he said blue. Anyway, it is the man that he stood behind.
Actually, the defendant Cal is wearing what looks like an orange shirt to me.
Well, you are colorblind.
Thank you, Your Honor. Now, is there any doubt in your mind as to your identification of the defendant Cal here at all?
None.
Is there any doubt as to your identification of the defendant Olson?
No doubt.
You are absolutely positive these are the two men that robbed you.
That's correct.
Counsel may cross-examine, Your Honor.
May I inquire, Your Honor?
Yes.
Mr. Copeland, just a few questions. If I understand your testimony correctly, it was while you were struggling with this man who had the knife and his hands on your person that you first saw the individual that you have identified as Mr. Cal. Is that correct?
That's correct.
And it was during the struggle that Mr. Cal, or the man you have identified as Mr. Cal, said, "We only want your money," in a loud tone?
That's correct.
Now, at the time, did you see this object, the man that you have identified as Mr. Cal, did you see that object in his hand that you have referred to as a switchblade knife?
Yes, I did.
Now, did you at that time or at any time that evening during that incident see the so-called switchblade knife with the blade exposed?
No, I did not.
When you describe it as a switchblade knife, what does that term mean to you?
A knife that the blade can be opened by pushing a button.
Did you see any push buttons on that object that was in the man's hand?
No, I did not.
Is it my understanding that it is your recollection that both the purse and the wallet belonging, strike that, the wallet that you removed from your coat and the purse that was in the possession of your wife were not given to the man that you identified as Mr. Cal?
That's correct.
They were given to the other man.
That's correct.
And during all of these proceedings, would it be fair to say that Mr. Cal was, in a way, hanging back during this transaction?
No, quite the contrary.
Would you say that he was being more aggressive of the two men, Mr. Cal, or the least aggressive of the two?
I would say it was equal. After all, one man did have a knife.
I understand. And that was not Mr. Cal.
That's correct.
And when you asked for your keys back, do I understand that Mr. Cal said that he would see that you got your keys back and the other man said nothing?
He said okay because he had the keys.
He said okay. And he did in fact give the keys back or throw them?
After I had asked him to again, I said, "Give us back the keys."
That was the man you identified as Mr. Cale?
That's correct.
As these two individuals were leaving the scene, do I understand that you were able to see one of the individuals and he had your wife's purse under his jacket?
I'm going to have to say yes, this is true. However, I didn't actually see the purse under his jacket.
Oh, I see. Well, that was my question. Did you see a purse under his jacket?
No,
Did you see some bulge under a man's jacket?
that's correct.
And the man who had the bulge under his jacket, that was not Mr. Cale either, was it?
That's correct.
Mr. Copeland, as I understood your testimony, most of the conversation, actual conversation that you had with your two assailants was with the man you have identified as Mr. Cale. Is that correct?
I would say this is approximately a fair statement.
He is the one that originally said, "We want your money." Is that correct?
He said that, yes.
He is the one that asked for the keys to the car?
Yes.
Now, when you originally described the two people who accosted you to the police, did you describe them as being approximately the same age or different ages?
Different ages.
Do you recall what ages you used in that description at that time?
20 and 26.
And which one of the two assailants did you describe as being the older of the two?
I'll have to say the gentleman in the yellow shirt who is at the table.
The one you have now identified as Mr. Cale, is that correct?
Cale, yes.
The one that was to the rear at the time, is that right?
That's correct.
I have no further questions.
Anything further, Mr. Prukop?
No, I have nothing further of this witness, Your Honor.
All right, you may step down. Thank you.
People will call Elizabeth J. Copeland. Will you please state your name?
Elizabeth Josephine Copeland.
Thank you. Mrs. Copeland, what is your occupation?
I'm a registered nurse.
And were you at the Sportsman's Restaurant at 1500 West Washington Boulevard on the evening of Saturday, February 14, 1970?
Yes, I was.
And about what time did you arrive there, and about what time did you leave there?
Around 8:30 we arrived and we left at 10:30.
And were you there with your husband?
Yes, I was.
You were present during his testimony here before the jury this morning?
Yes, I was.
And you mentioned it was about 10:30, is that correct?
Yes.
Did you look at your watch about that time?
Yes, I did.
Why was that?
I looked at my watch in the restaurant. It was 10:25 and I had to be on duty at 7 the following morning, so I had to go home early.
Where did you work?
I worked for the California Youth Authority at Fred C. Nell's School on Whittier.
When you came out of the restaurant that particular evening, were you with your husband?
Yes.
And would you describe to the ladies and gentlemen of the jury as to what happened after you exited the restaurant? Would you tell the ladies and gentlemen of the jury, please?
Yes, I exited the restaurant and noticed two fellows leaning against a Volkswagen to my left as I exited the restaurant. Then I went on into the parking lot with my husband. He opened the door and I entered, sat down and pushed the button down on my side. Then I noticed a gentleman walking across the front of the car, coming around, and he said, "Roll down the window, this is a stick-up."
All right. Would you tell in sequence what happened then?
Then my husband, he reached over to my husband, and that is really all I saw, because my husband turned around like this and grabbed his hands. And I was sitting next to my husband, facing front, and I remember I took my rings off and my wristwatch and put them in my purse.
In your purse?
That was on the floor of the car beside me.
Is this the same purse that you later transferred over?
Yes.
When you transferred the purse, did it have your rings
I
and
took them out. I put the rings and watch in my shoe, and then they struggled, and then the other fellow came out from behind and demanded our money, and I threw my purse. I picked up my purse and threw it right out the window to the man, and he caught it.
And why did you do that?
Because I was frightened. He meant business.
Had you seen any weapons up to the point
No.
where you had thrown the purse?
No, just before I threw my purse, I saw the knife, one knife.
What knife did you see?
I saw the homemade knife sharpened to a point.
And who had that?
The gentleman my husband had struggled with.
All right. Would you tell us in sequence what happened there at the car as you saw it and heard it? Tell the ladies and gentlemen of the jury, please.
When my husband was struggling with the man, I really couldn't see too much, and I did not see the knife at that time.
I am sorry. May I interrupt? I missed that answer.
She said that she didn't see the knife at that time.
Thank you.
I saw the face of the man that was struggling with my husband, but I couldn't see exactly what they were doing.
All right. Would you proceed as to what happened and what you did?
All right, as I say, I took off my rings and my watch and put them in my shoe at first, and then I just sat there, I'm afraid. And then when the other one came up from behind the car and demanded everything, I took my purse and I threw it at him. As they left, I honked the horn.
That was the horn of your car?
Yes, I pushed my hand down.
All right. Was there anything else that you did or that happened to you personally that you have not told us about?
No, I don't believe so.
As best as you can recall, would you relate the conversation that you overheard either being spoken by the defendant Cale or the defendant Olson or your husband as the events were happening right there in your presence?
He said, "Roll down your window, this is a stick-up." That was the first thing.
Who said that?
Mr. Olson.
Do you see him in court now?
Yes,
Which one is that?
he has a blue shirt on.
May the record show she is referring to the defendant, Robert Victor Olson.